G20 economies account for 75% of global trade and 80% of the world's GDP. The Business 20 or the B20 is the business arm of the G20, mandated to cultivate private sector-led transformation to enable the G20 economies to recover together and recover stronger. Together, the B20 Indonesia's Task Forces and Action Council convened a diverse group of business leaders to deliver tangible and comprehensive policy recommendations and B20 communique, providing concrete outcomes and shaping the policy recommendations to enable businesses globally. The B20 Indonesia is also committed to drive three key movements that will recourse global trajectory for the better. These are green transition, inclusive growth, and equitable healthcare. It is the decade for the G20 countries to drive green transition as we account for almost half of the world's share of natural-based solutions. The B20 Indonesia advocates companies to accelerate green transition towards net zero emission target and equip stakeholders with the necessary knowledge to benefit from carbon market. To embody the spirit of gotong royong and capture the huge upside of inclusive growth, the B20 Indonesia pushes for next generation mid-sized companies to be part of the global supply chain and builds necessary infrastructure to promote the impactful inclusion of women in the global economy. Finally, to prepare for future health crises, the B20 Indonesia urges the need for equitable healthcare to bolster health system resilience. This journey has shown how collaboration and spirit to innovate can drive change. Through commitments and programs that we have built together, continue to realize an innovative, inclusive, and collaborative growth for all.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our next agenda will be the speech by the G20 leader with the main theme of building a strong and resilient economic recovery strategy of all. Please welcome the Prime Minister of Australia, His Excellency, Mr. Anthony Albanese.
Good evening, everyone. Salamat sore. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you in Bali, and I particularly want to acknowledge my friend, President Widodo. It is great to be back in Indonesia and to congratulate President Widodo and his team for hosting what will be a very successful G20 meeting following what has been a successful hosting of the B20 here today. I do want to thank the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Kadin, including its chairperson and host of the B20, Pak Asad, and chair of the B20, Ibu Shinta, for bringing us together, and I thank you for your addresses here this evening. President Widodo has once again shown us enormously kind hospitality. This is my 7th official visit to Indonesia and my 2nd as Prime Minister.
Asia's #1 investing mentor, 875,000 YouTube subscribers.
And the new government that I lead is determined to write a new chapter in Australia and Indonesia's long history of friendship and cooperation. I was reminded of that long history during my first visit here as Prime Minister, when I visited not just Jakarta, but also Makassar. Centuries ago, the sea route between Makassar and the top end of Australia was a flourishing trade corridor. Each December, the Yolngu people of Arnhem Land would look to the sea, waiting for the horizon to fill with the sails of Macassan vessels. The Yolngu immortalised those boats in their art, and you can find them painted on sandstone and bark, their sails forever full with the wind that brought them across the sea. The relationship between the Macassan seafarers and First Nations people of Australia was built around trade, but it was also built around mutual respect. It was a relationship of equals that set the template for the people-to-people contact that has always been at the very heart of Australia's relationship with the people of Indonesia. So much has changed since that era, but what has remained, and indeed thrived, is our mutual respect. Knowing this history gives us perspective, and it also reminds us that relationships between nations are always bigger and broader and deeper and richer than just leader-to-leader conversations, as vital as they are. That's why when I came to Indonesia in June, I was joined by a large delegation of government ministers and senior business leaders, the head of the Business Council of Australia, who's with us again this evening, the CEO of the Commonwealth Bank, and representatives of major companies such as Wesfarmers, Fortescue, BlueScope, Sun Cable and Thales. And I'm delighted that so many Australian business leaders are joining me here again today. Australian businesses are energised by the tremendous opportunities that this nation and this region hold. This B20 gathering, bringing together influential business leaders from around the world, draws on that same spirit, recognising that innovative, inclusive and collaborative growth won't be built and sustained by the actions of government alone. It will depend on the insights and enterprise and cooperation and investment of businesses and financial institutions and civil society and workers' representatives as well. So I welcome the B20's insights on the way forward, and I thank you for the care and effort that you have put into crafting your recommendations. And I embrace the goal that you have set. Innovative growth, because the challenges we face are different to previous economic downturns, and the policy response must be different too. Inclusive growth, because the quality of our response and the measure of our recovery must hold no one back and leave no one behind. And collaborative growth, because in a globalised economy, it is not just markets and products and technologies that we hold in common, it is challenges but also opportunities as well. Right now, we face a collective economic challenge new to the G20, indeed new to our generation. It was the global financial crisis and the seismic upheaval in the banking system which first elevated the G20 to a leader-level meeting. Leaders gathered in Washington in 2008 to unfreeze global credit markets and shore up the capital positions of financial institutions. And they came to London in 2009 to craft a global economic stimulus package. As Infrastructure Minister, I had the privilege of being part of the Australian delegation at that meeting. The financial crisis we faced then produced a global demand shock. The economic challenge that we face now is primarily a global supply shock. The long tail of the pandemic is constricting supply chains and stretching workforces. And Russia's invasion of Ukraine is inflicting severe, ongoing disruption to food, fuel and energy markets. Inflation is biting advanced economies around the world, and central banks are responding with the sharpest and most synchronised tightening of monetary policy that we have seen in decades. For governments to see off the threat of inflation, to prevent runaway inflation from eroding national prosperity and devaluing people's wages, we must ensure fiscal policy is working in concert with monetary policy, not contradicting it. And macroeconomic policy coordination, along with cross-border collaboration between businesses such as those in this room, has an important part to play in that. I will always remember the sense of purpose and urgency with which world leaders in London worked to coordinate that $1 trillion global stimulus package, while at the same time laying down a shared commitment to free market principles, to the rule of law, to open trade and investment, to competitive markets, and to effectively regulated financial systems. Knowing that these are essential to building stronger and more inclusive prosperity for all. Even then, in the heart of the storm, there was still a focus on the horizon. Put simply, the G20 was made for moments like these and built for these challenges. Founded on the unifying principle of multilateralism, that we can achieve far more together than we ever will alone. So yes, we can recover together and we can recover stronger. Indeed, recovering stronger depends on recovering together. We do this by ensuring that our tax systems reward people for their hard work and repay the initiative and enterprise of our businesses and job creators, by building the resilience and diversity of supply chains so we are better prepared for global shocks, and by helping developing countries to manage rising debt sustainably, risk by implementing measures such as the G20 Common Framework for Debt Treatment, and achieving the innovative and inclusive and collaborative growth that the B20 have challenged us to seek also means investing in the skills and productivity of our workforce and increasing participation opportunities, as well as unlocking the potential of people who have historically been locked out of career opportunities because of gender, race, disadvantage or disability. And of course, collaboration means strengthening our trade links, not just in the exchange of raw materials or finished sharing of research and technology and education and expertise. Governments can help by breaking down tariff walls and building trade bridges. We can upgrade infrastructure, our ports and freight terminals, our energy pipelines and transmission technology to speed the exchange of goods and resources. But business also has a great deal to teach us about effective and informed cross-border collaboration and the value of competition and best practice productivity. And whether it's technology, skills, research, jobs, investment, infrastructure or trade, the challenge and the opportunity that can draw all of these threads together is responding to climate change. For governments and business, investing and developing clean energy will enhance our individual energy security and it will strengthen our collective action on climate change. I am very proud that my government has acted quickly to drive the transformation to net zero, and I'm pleased that so many members of the Australian business community shared and support this commitment. We know Australia can be a renewable energy superpower, and we're working to grow our clean energy export industry, but we want to do it in cooperation with Indonesia and other nations to help reduce their emissions, to grow their economies and improve their living standards. Because just as none of us are immune from the global challenge of climate change, all of us have a part to play in the solution. And I know that President Widodo is very passionate about this. And I want to commend Indonesia's leadership in developing the G20 Bali energy transitions roadmap. It sends such a powerful message to global markets, giving investors the confidence to scale up their ambitions, knowing that G20 members are committed to accelerating the transition to clean energy. That's what uncertain times demand, not just the determination of weather the storm, but the ambition and the vision to sail beyond it. On that note, I'm delighted that our next G20 host, India, led by Prime Minister Modi, will be guided by its aspiration to ensure economic progress and the environment go hand in hand. And I am confident that India's 2023 G20 presidency will build successfully on the achievements of the Bali summit. Bapak President, all of us here are eager to hear your reflections on India's host year and your ambitions for the future. Terima kasih.
Golden Lamian. Nah ini dia guys menu terbaru dari Golden Lamian. Ini tuh Hongkong extra spicy chicken.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to our next ceremony, which is the B20 presidency handover to India. And to hand over the presidency, I would like to invite to come up on stage Ms. Sinta Kamdani, the chair of B20 Indonesia. And to receive this presidency handover, please come up on stage as well, Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, representing the Confederation of Indian Industry as the next host of B20. Ms. Sinta Kamdani, please pass the B20 Indonesia communique to Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to our ceremony, which is the symbolic submission of the B20 Indonesia Presidency Report to the President, the B20 Communique. To pass over this document, I would like to invite to come up on stage Mr. Arshad Rashid, Chairman of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or Kadin Indonesia, host of B20 Indonesia. And to receive it, I would like to invite the President of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Joko Widodo. B20 Indonesia Presidency Report is the outcome of the B20 Indonesia Presidency, emphasizing the final B20 policy recommendations and legacy outcomes. Thank you very much, Bapak Presiden. Please stay on stage. As we'd like to listen to your keynote speech, and thank you, Mr. Rashid. Ms. Shinta.
Selamat sore. Yang saya hormati Perdana Menteri Australia yang mulia Anthony Albanese, yang saya hormati Ketua DPR Republik Indonesia, Bapak Ibu hadirin undangan yang berbahagia. Bulan Januari yang lalu, saya berbicara di depan B20 pada awal masa tugasnya. Masih pandemi berat saat itu. Saya menyampaikan bahwa di setiap kesulitan, bahwa di setiap tantangan pasti ada peluang. Jangan pesimis. Titipan saya saat itu saya ingat, jangan pesimis. Kemudian 10 bulan berselang. Pandemi masih ada perang, ada krisis pangan, ada krisis energi, ada krisis keuangan. Tapi kita patut bersyukur Indonesia di kuartal kedua masih tumbuh 5,44%. Dan di kuartal ketiga, kita tumbuh lebih kuat lagi di 5,72%. Inflasi juga bisa kita kelola di angka di September, karena kenaikan harga BBM naik menjadi 5,9%. Tetapi di bulan Oktober inflasi kita sudah bisa turun lagi di angka 5,7%.
Asia's #1 investing mentor, 875,000 YouTube subscribers.
Managing Director dari IMF menyampaikan, Kristalina menyampaikan, bahwa Indonesia menjadi salah satu titik terang di tengah kesuraman ekonomi dunia. Oleh sebab itu perlu strategi besar yang sudah sering saya sampaikan itu secara konsisten terus kita jalankan. Yang pertama, hilirisasi, industrialisasi, bahan-bahan mentah yang kita miliki. Memang harus kita stop untuk mendapatkan nilai tambah di dalam negeri. Baik yang berkaitan dengan pendapatan, baik untuk negara, baik yang berkaitan dengan penciptaan lapangan kerja, dan sudah kita mulai dengan nikel dalam rangka membangun sebuah ekosistem besar EV baterai listrik untuk mobil listrik. Saya hanya menawarkan kepada Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, di Australia ada litium, kita punya nikel. Kalau digabung itu sudah jadi baterai mobil listrik. Tapi saya minta kepada Perdana Menteri Albanese untuk litiumnya bisa dibawa ke Indonesia saja. Kita bersama-sama melakukan hilirisasi di Indonesia. Yang kedua, yang berkaitan dengan ekonomi hijau. Sudah sering saya sampaikan bahwa potensi energi baru terbarukan, renewable energy di Indonesia itu sangat besar. Ada potensi 434.000 megawatt, baik dari hidropower, baik dari geothermal, baik dari solar panel, baik dari angin, baik dari tidal wave, semuanya ada. Inilah kesempatan para investor untuk menjalin kerjasama dengan Indonesia, membawa investasi, membawa teknologi, karena ini memerlukan uang yang tidak sedikit, untuk bersama-sama membangun ekonomi hijau di Indonesia. Dan kami telah menyiapkan di Kalimantan Utara 30.000 hektar lahan untuk Green Industrial Park yang nantinya saya yakin akan berbondong-bondong investor datang untuk membangun produk-produk hijau dari Indonesia. Karena di dekat kawasan itu ada Sungai Kayan yang bisa memproduksi energi bersih, energi hijau sebesar 13.000 megawatt, yaitu hydropower. Kemudian yang terakhir, yang berkaitan dengan digitalisasi. Saya titip yang besar agar membawa yang kecil. Yang besar mau membesarkan usaha-usaha kecil, usaha mikro, agar mereka tidak tertinggal. Kita sudah 3 tahun ini memasukkan usaha kecil, usaha mikro untuk masuk ke digital platform. Dan sudah sampai saat ini sudah ada 19 juta usaha kecil, usaha mikro yang sudah masuk ke platform-platform digital. Dari 64 juta UMKM yang kita miliki. Target kita nanti di 2024, kita harapkan sudah mencapai di atas 30 juta. Artinya yang kecil-kecil jangan ditinggal. Saya titip kepada India agar nantinya juga yang usaha-usaha kecil, usaha mikro ini juga masih dibawa lagi, diteruskan. Dan terakhir saya mengucapkan selamat bekerja bagi presidensi B20 India di tahun depan. Saya optimis B20 akan semakin solid dan terus berkembang. Terima kasih. Selamat sore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Bapak Ibu yang terhormat, today we had a thoughtful discussions and intriguing insights from all of our respectable speakers. On behalf of the committee, we would like to thank all of our guests and speakers for attending this event. And now we would like to invite the President of the Republic of Indonesia and the Prime Minister of Australia to leave the venue. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.